So welcome to everybody who is joining us today for the I Love Real Estate success story. Now, this is Michael here in Knowledge Source, and I, on these Fridays, what we do is we connect with one of the members of the I Love Real Estate community and ask them to share a little bit about their journey with the I Love Real Estate community and with Dymphna's training, to give a bit of an insight into what they've been doing and how it has changed their situation, their life in various ways. I've got to say, I always find this incredibly fascinating to have an insight into how every student will have a different insight and they will lean on a different part of Dymphna's training or a different part of the I Love Real Estate community. And today, we've got another fascinating, very interesting story with a guy which I think you're going to find really, really insightful. And today we have James. James, how you doing?
Hello, Michael. Yes, good. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
It's an absolute pleasure, man. It's an absolute pleasure. So we've just been having a bit of a chat, and we want to kind of like we want to get some bit of an insight into what you've been doing within the community, because you've been doing some fascinating stuff, and you've also been posting a few things onto the Facebook group. There's some pretty amazing kind of like, yeah. I think the best thing to do is let's get straight into it. Hey.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, good. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do the spotlight for everybody. So we're both spotlighted. That'll make it a little bit easier. Add spotlight. There we go. Okay. So I want to get a bit of an insight, James, from what your life was like before joining. Like, everyone comes from a different kind of position in their life. So how was life like yours? Like you've been in I Love Real Estate about 6 years now, haven't you? So what was life like before that? How did you come to get involved?
Yeah, so I was running my own business just prior to that, and it was going really, really well for a number of years, and then it's a number of mistakes on my behalf and legislation changes, and I didn't went to liquidation, the business did. And so probably for the 6 months prior to coming along to Dymphna, I basically had no money, no income, and a huge amount of personal debt, which I had no ability in a normal month, I suppose 9 to 5 sort of a job to repay. So I saw a one dayer coming up, and my wife and I both needed, I guess, something to give us hope again. So we came along to the one dayer, and on the day we joined up for jumped straight into quantum to I suppose trying to recreate a better future for us. Wow.
So you'd just gone into liquidation. So you had a fair bit of debt. Do you mind if I ask what kind of debt did you like incur?
Yeah, so it was probably over 300,000 of personal debt, of which that was beyond any equity that I had in properties, or had a couple of properties at the time. So it was on me rather than the business to repay. So I went up to the people I owed the money to, and I said, look, I'll repay it. Don't know when, but you'll get your money. So.
Wow, tough, man. That's tough, hey? And I suppose they're kind of like, if they're going to lend you money, they're going to be like your friends too, or people that you kind of know well, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was tough relationships from then, because I'd made them a lot of money in the sort of 5 or 6 years previously, to then have the capital trapped to other people I'd lent them money to and not come back. So very challenging times for us for a number of years, actually.
Mate, what happens to your confidence about when things like that occur?
It actually took me a number of years, probably even longer in certain areas, to have the ability to have confidence in my own decision making. I had a lot of fear around, why would someone want to do business with me or do a project with me because I guess the business failed, so therefore James is a failure as a person. And I battled through that for a long time. Wow,
yeah, man, it's a tough one. So you obviously you saw Dymphna and went, okay, I better check out this blonde lady, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I thought, I suppose it gave me hope in, I suppose, a better future. And then just looking at what the members of the community, what they were achieving. And I thought, I needed to create chunks, which was a new word for me at the time, to repay debt, and then perhaps one day create a future, I suppose.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So, but when you first kind of started, you obviously got a lot of debt. It was even difficult for you to start, wasn't it? Like, how did you even kind of, did you have the money to join, or how did,
Yeah, so I jumped on the payment plan option. So we had just enough money to pay on the day. And then during the forthcoming months, I had sort of several phone calls saying that my payment had bounced and that you didn't have the money in the account. So I was back doing I suppose it wasn't a 9-to-5 job, but back working, and income wasn't enough to chip away at some of the debts. And then also, the payment plan for here. And was stuck, and reached out to a friend and said, this is my situation. And they had ability, also confidence in my ability, and said, look, we'll lend you some money. So I cleaned up the outstanding debt there and had a bit of money to then go forward and, I guess, create the first deal. As long as, I had 20,000. So had about 10,000 I could put towards doing a deal, or trying to.
But that must have been a breath of fresh air from a friend, hey?
Absolutely, because he just looked at me and just said, I know who you are as a person. I know what you've done. I have complete faith in what you can do and your ability as a person to honor any debt you have and go out there and kick butt. And that was, I suppose, a bit life-changing, I guess, from that situation where it goes, now I can start again.
Yeah. That must do a fair bit for your confidence, your own confidence as well, to have someone else believe in you. Yeah. Mate, that's okay. Well, that's how you entered into the ILRE real estate community, isn't it? Wow. Okay.
I remember actually having the phone call. So I started working in a timber yard. So I was making $700 a week, and I had a successful business prior to that. So I remember standing there talking to Knowledge Source, trying to work out how I could get, if I paid off in full, how I could get a little bit of a discount and things like that. It's interesting times, and yeah.
All right. Yeah. I hope Knowledge Source were kind of good to you, and obviously they helped you out to get it all done.
Yes, hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, good. So what did you get into? Obviously, you've now joined the community. You've come out of kind of like, you're in a situation where you've still got quite a bit of debt there to be able to still address. So and you've got a friend that's come in and kind of going, hey, let's I believe in you. Get out there and get into it. What did you do?
So it was networking to see who had a deal, because I knew I had a bit of background in knowing how to renovate, and also, I suppose, helping sellers who wanted to sell and trying to find a good solution for them to, I guess, move on from their current house. So, a friend found a seller who wanted to sell. The house had been trashed, didn't have the money. The market wasn't very strong, and thought, how could we all work together to find a solution from them? So I teamed up with one of another couple in the community. We both put some money in, and then put some labor in to help the seller to fix up their house and all move on and make a bit of a profit between us all.
Yeah. So this is what you call a seller JV, yeah?
Yeah. So yes.
Do you want to describe what that is? For anyone who might not know.
Yeah. So I guess a seller has the property. They may or be in a sort of a financial situation, or the property's in a situation where they need to move on, and perhaps they've exhausted a lot of their options as the easiest and best way to do that, and they may need some financial assistance. So in this case, she had mortgage arrears, rates arrears, and the house was trashed, didn't have the money to clean it up. So we formed an agreement in which we became, I guess, the financial support she needed. So made sure the tenant moved on, cleaned up rates, water, the mortgage payments. Said we'll manage the mortgage payments until the renovation was done, and then we stepped in, completed the renovation, fund the whole renovation, organised a sale, and then made sure that she got, more than she would have previously upon the sale. And, we got reimbursed our investment and our profit as well.
Mm-hmm. And how did it turn out?
Yeah, so well, personally, we walked away with 33,000 profit. So I'd gone from nothing sort of 4 or 5 months earlier. We made about 33, and based on the percentage split, the other joint venture partner made about 25. And that was really beneficial for both parties, because then we could do something solid again moving forward.
Wow, awesome. So it's a great way of everyone kind of benefiting.
Absolutely, yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's solutions to people's problems.
Solution based. Doesn't everyone love those solutions? Yeah, solutions for problems. Yeah, mate, awesome. So, if you have a look at where you're coming from, and clearly you've got some experience when you're coming in with this type of area as well. What was the real part of Dymphna's program or the community and so forth? What was the, what helped you the most, or what did you get into the most? What really was it for you?
I guess the strategy I was using for property previously was no longer working. So I had to go, to reinvent my property future, I suppose. So I didn't have the knowledge on that. So knew that Dymphna had all the resources and all the education was there available. And that's what I basically immersed myself in that information in order to move forward. And that became looking to do joint ventures with sellers or homeowners, and through renovation. And I just loved, I suppose, the success that other people were having and sharing that, which gave me the belief in myself that, perhaps, if I do those things that they're doing, that I can create those sort of chunk deals, which what I needed to move forward.
Yeah. Nice one. And you kind of like get right into the education too, don't you? You're one of those people that do you want to kind of talk about that? I mean, like Dymphna always says, and you hear it from a couple of other students as well. It's like you're driving along, you listen to podcasts. This is something that you do as well? Is that right?
Yeah, so absolutely, yes. So whenever I'm driving, I've got an audio book or a podcast, or at the time it was working through the material of the boot camps. So I have that playing in the background wherever I was going. And when I started doing a few renovations, fortunate I could actually have it, playing into my headset and really immersing myself in there, because I suppose I was really took a real kick in the guts and confidence in myself, and I knew that the way forward was doing it, and in order to do it, I needed the confidence and the education to do so. So I really immersed myself, where I'd probably say there wouldn't be many people who would have listened to as many or heard Dymphna as much as I have, and since then, I looked at other self-development things to improve myself and the way I do business.
So. And you get into the boot camps too, don't you?
Yeah. So originally I went to probably did 2 or 3 in a row, watched probably another couple of times on the DVDs. Now it's right into the podcasts, the success stories, all those sorts of things. When there's an opportunity to surround myself and submerge myself in it, then I take that opportunity to do so.
Yeah. Out of interest, like when you go into something and when you learn something, it's like sometimes you can go through and go, oh, you think I learn it, but you're going over it a number of times.
Yes.
Do you? And because you've got out there and you've utilized it, I suppose what I'm trying to understand here from yourself is that if you go over it, the material again and again, how does that influence your ability to get out there and take action?
Yeah, so I guess just the knowing where to find the information when I need it was probably key as well, where I knew what I knew, and then when something I didn't know popped up, rather than being paralyzed and not being able to move forward, it was the community has the answer, the learning material has the answer. Let's go and find that now so I can move forward. So yeah, it was really just going, okay, now what can I do to move forward? And just continue asking that question.
Constantly looking for solutions, yeah?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So look, now you've done a number of deals, haven't you? I mean, like you've been involved with property for a while previously as well, and also within the community. How many deals have you done? Like you've been in the ILRE real estate community for 6 years now.
Yes. Yep.
What have you done within that 6 years?
So completed deals and the few we have under contract at the moment, it's about, I did a tally, so yeah, 29 deals. We've got about 7 or 8 we're currently working on at the moment in that, amongst them.
29.
Yeah.
29. Okay, that's huge.
I will also say, because I didn't have any money, I've had put none of my own money into all 29 of them.
So hang on. You've done 29 deals.
Yes.
And you haven't used your own money.
No. So
29 deals with no money.
Yeah.
Is everyone else listening to this? Is this like okay? Now we've got to. Okay, can you give us a bit of an idea of what they're like? Like, can you go through some of the deals and let us know how does this occur? And obviously, you're doing joint ventures and other kind of things. So can you give us a bit of an idea of a couple of deals? Because this is fascinating. If you can do this, 29 with no money. I mean, like Dymphna has that program, OPM, Other People's Money. I'm sure you've probably listened to that a few times.
Absolutely, yes.
All right. So can you, So give us an idea. What was like a deal?
Yeah, we spoke about a couple earlier. So often it's someone who owns a house, they need to sell it or they need to move on. So it's coming up with a solution for them. So therefore, I guess they have a bank loan, they have the property. So therefore, I don't need deposits, don't need borrowing ability. So I can team up with them and form a joint venture with them. The next scenario is I don't have the money to help them. So then I need a second joint venture with somebody who has the funds to do so. So they might be, I guess, a joint venture partner who comes on board and we're looking at doing a profit share. They may have the ability to help with some of the work or the renovation, or it might purely be their an interest component. They're loaning the money to me or the project to, I suppose, make it all happen. So yeah, there's generally 2 parts to it to make it work.
Now you've listened to Dymphna many times.
Yep.
Do you recall when she said the most underutilized strategy at the moment?
Yes. Yeah. I think she says it in like the first 5 minutes of one of the boot camps I was at.
It's selling JVs, isn't it? It's selling JVs.
It absolutely is.
It's the most underutilized strategy that's available at the moment, and you've done 29 of them.
Yes.
With no money down. Fascinating. Now, Claudia is just asking a couple of questions. Are they all JVs? I think you've kind of pretty much answered that question, haven't you? Where the investor is the other person. I think you've kind of answered that. And what is the profit you get from those 29 deals roughly? I think we're going to get into that as well. Is there anything you wanted to share on that, James?
Yep. So I guess it's either the homeowner or a money partner and other joint venture partners. Yep. And we did a bit of research because we were looking at, I suppose we had a number of projects and we needed to try and present ourselves as, why would people want to invest with us? So we went back and looked at the sort of last 10 we sort of did in the last 2 years. And basically 75,000 was the profit. So I'm in the lower price range, sort of, once renovated, the houses are selling for sort of 350. So we're making 75,000 on that, and that was broken down into like perhaps the money partner, perhaps the homeowner, and then our share. That's probably higher now if we, went back into the recent numbers.
Okay, cool. So look, can we go through some of the deals, because I think that's probably going to answer, and clarify more the questions, yeah. And out of the 29 deals and no money down deals, seller JVs that Dymphna was talking about, were all of them seller JVs or not? Or
not all of them. Some of them were on the market and then we've cashed them out at a discount, but I've brought on basically 130% finance. So the person's funded the purchase, stamp duty, renovations, in order to make the deal happen.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. So let's go through some of the deals. Yep. With profits and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that cool?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Far away. Which one do you want to start with?
We spoke about one that I know COVID has slowed a lot of people down, and it's probably probably ran at about 60% of what I actually anticipated we would achieve in the last sort of 2 years. And yeah, one of which had basically went to South Australia and found a homeowner who needed to sell. And because we were a little bit unsure of the market over there at the time, instead of agreeing on a price that they would receive or a profit share, we locked in a set fee. So it was 30,000 plus GST, of which we would help move them from their current house. So we actually, because they had a big family, we found them a house that was going to get knocked down. So the owner didn't matter how many people were living in it, helped them move, paid for moving costs, skip costs, help with mortgage arrears, help with rates. And then so they transitioned to their new home. And then we stepped in and just matched a building quote that they'd already had for the works to be done. And then so at this time, we had difficulty getting across the border. And then it was announced that any Victoria resident couldn't get across to South Australia. So I looked at my wife, it's like lunchtime, and it was from midnight that night. So I've gone, I've got to go. This is our next income. So I've got to go. So open up the boot, open up the shed, chucked every tool that I could fit in there, including the swag, jumped in the car and made it just in time before midnight. And then I had to self-quarantine for 14 days. So the keys were left in the letterbox, went inside the house. It was a mess, and yeah, basically lived in the house for 10 weeks. First 14 days quarantining. So I had Uber Eats and Bunnings deliveries for all the materials, and yeah, got the job done.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. As you know, so I mean, like when the border was like going to close, that's it. You only had the one opportunity. If you didn't know when you were going to get back in.
Yes.
And did that, and then sleeping in the house to get it done. So when you were quarantining, you were working.
Yeah, well, I was the renovator. I couldn't have anyone else around, so I had to prepare everything for tradesmen when they could actually come in. We had a few quotes beforehand, and they were ready to go, but work had to stop in certain areas, and other areas I was actively doing the work myself.
I just love this, because it's kind of like you got to make the best use of a bad bargain. It's like, and what's the other saying? When you get lemon, create lemonade. You have just kind of taken a situation and an opportunity and rolled it totally in your favor. So you've got was it 10 days quarantine or 14?
14 days quarantine.
14 days, and then that's it. You've got to self-isolate, and you're doing renovations in this deal. Awesome, man.
It was actually the hardest part was being alone, to be honest.
Really? Yeah.
The best part was Netflix, but the hardest part was being alone.
Okay, awesome. And now, how did it stack up, deal wise and money wise? How did it go for?
Yeah. So we ended up spending. The agreed value was we're going to spend 56,000. We ended up spending a little bit more, and that was just a judgment call with myself and the owner, just saying, look, if we did these extra things, we'll achieve more for you. So I had the business had a 33,000 profit, which was what was agreed. Then because I became one of the labourers, we had basically I made another 13,000 myself for the labour component that I did. And then they would have walked away with probably 50 or 60,000 extra than the property was worth at the time. And if we'd known that, we probably would have restructured it where we had a bit of an incentive for success on our behalf to create more, or perhaps 50-50 profit share rather than locking that in. But in an unknown market, 33 safely was a good decision.
Yeah, great. So you ended up with combined 33 and a 13. What's that, 46?
Correct, yes.
And how long did it take?
So I was in there 10 weeks. I was there. So
10 weeks, 46 grand, and they get around 50, 60.
Yes.
Everyone's happy. All right, awesome.
Yeah, great win. They loved it. Yeah, great story because, such a, I guess, a loving family. Just he'd hurt his shoulder, couldn't work anymore. And that just stopped their income. Then their only way forward was to maximize the sale of the property.
Yeah, awesome. It must be such a good vibe to be able to take a situation, where a family is in, they're restricted in being able to move forward, and you come in and literally solve their problem and give them profit at the end of it.
Yeah, it's very interesting because the first time I'll sit down with them, so we'll sit at the coffee table, and I'll sit there for a while because I know that, we're not having the conversation about they hate their house and they want it sold. The conversation is about their life's changed, they're looking to move forward, and the way forward for them is either to get rid of the debt they can't handle or to access their equity that they do have. And then in asking those questions from them, they tell me basically how the payments, the money needs to happen to solve their problem, and then create the opportunity for me to go on into a quick reno to achieve more. And it's probably more often than not that by the end of it, they're in tears. They've exhausted all other options, and then because I suppose the ability I have and the experience, it's then going, okay, this is how we can solve your problem from today onwards. And then the relief, and then they'll often get the message, this is the first time I've slept in 3 years, a full night's sleep, the day afterwards. And then I suppose going through, and we have that relationship for a number of months until it's sold, and then just knowing what the extra money can do once the property's sold. It's exciting to really seeing what's become of it afterwards, and the change that I guess no one else could. So
I think we want to kind of cover your confidence later on, but that must do a huge amount for your confidence to be able to do that to someone's lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And just the stories that I could tell of the day one to where they are now, or from the sale of the property, is a tremendous shift in. And I suppose talk about my confidence, but their confidence in people themselves as well.
Oh, isn't it? Seller JVs, hey? Seller JVs. Dymphna's been saying this. She's saying, you love them, and Dymphna's been saying most underutilized, and here you are, just doing so many of them. So glad you wanted to chat today, man. So James, it's awesome. Okay, so give us another deal. I think we've got another one in rural Vic. Yes, is that right?
Yeah, this is the recent one. So the check's freshly cleared. So so we were hunting in a market, and so we'd been actively in there. And then one of the students put up in the community actually said they were looking in the same area. We're having had a few options and asked a few questions about the area. And then we reached out and I just had a little bit of a chat. And then probably 2 or 3 months later, I just said, look, if you find something and you're unsure, happy to check over the numbers to see if it's a good deal for you. And they couldn't find one that was going to work. And we had one, so decided to reach out to them and said, look, we're looking for someone to fund this. Do you have an interest? And we teamed up. So I don't mind sharing a few of the numbers on this one if you like. So we knew the market was going to move there. So we purchased for 300,000. So we think it was slightly under market value, basically because it was rough.
Yep.
Tenants were an issue. So and being able to move them on. So so we thought it was a great opportunity. They were going to fund it all. So we agreed on a set fee for finding it. So we got a $10,000 fee because we thought it was well worth that based on the purchase price.
It's like a finder's fee, yeah?
Yeah.
Yep, cool.
And then so they were going to fund it all, we were going to do it all. And so I guess with the COVID sort of slowed a few things down. We're using trades sort of out of town in Melbourne that we knew, and the ability for them to interact between city and regional was a challenge. So it was a little bit slower than we had expected, and therefore we were doing a bit more hands-on than we'd expected as well. And then decided, let's not just achieve a great outcome, let's go for an amazing one, and invested more of our time in there as well. So I ended up settled just recently. So we split 164,000 between us, which was huge because they've come in from, doing a buy and a hold previously, and then it's a great win for them. They've recently sold their other investment property, now have some cash and some excitement of where they go to from here. So great outcome. The house looks amazing.
So that's 82K each, is that right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
That's and then you spent quite a bit on the renos on this one, didn't you?
Yeah, so we re-roofed, re-stumped, basically recladded to a certain bit. It had the plastic cladding, and then there was nothing old except it was basically a new place. So
I've seen some photos. Yeah, it was total stripped out the inside and redone, and it looks gorgeous at the end. Yeah, fantastic. And so then from there, you've done these ones, and then you've kind of veered into a little bit of a different strategy style at the moment. Is that right with your last one?
With the commercial property? Yeah. So just so one of the things that we will actually do is, yesterday I drove 10 hours to look at houses. So probably do about 5,000 kilometers in driving in sort of 10 days, because I'm actually driving to the areas where there's an opportunity. And so we found this one. We've been to the town, I think, about 9 times now in the last 12, 14 months. And then came across this opportunity where, not a lot of commercial spaces were being used, but we had a really strong, I suppose, tenant in level 1, and level 2 was empty, and we thought there's opportunity for apartments there. And it actually had 2 titles were being sold in there. So there was, I guess, 2 apartments at the back, which hadn't been. I looked at the power connection a couple of days ago. Power was disconnected 12 years ago. So they were, trashed. And we saw that as an opportunity where there was some cash flow now, and then really try and create some equity in these apartments. And then, we're excited about now going, let's keep something and create cash flow from it, because that's I guess where we need to be moving forward, rather than just flipping for cash. So exciting.
Interesting. Yeah. So now you're getting it. Now you're going to get into the cash flow and hold. Yeah.
Yes. Especially because we're excited because the market's been moving, whereas previously in the areas there wasn't a lot of capital growth. So it was, you're in and out in a similar market. Now the market's moving. So we're going, well, let's instead of perhaps selling, can we experience some gain by hanging on to a little bit longer, and then, perhaps sell out then.
Yeah. Cool. So now that's just a couple of the deals. Obviously, you've done a stack of them. This is a bit of an insight into it. How are you stacked up from your original kind of situation with debt and so forth coming in originally? How are you positioned? Obviously, you're in a better position than you were. So
yes, yeah. So a lot of that debt's paid down. Probably with what we have lined up, anticipate the next sort of 18 months, I will have cleared out, I suppose, the past debt. And then, have some other properties which we'll be keeping and then creating cash flow. And so the next sort of 24 months will be really exciting about, then it's for me rather than for, the past James, solving past James' problem.
It'll be a new James.
That's right. Yes, future James is excited. So.
Awesome. We want to. Well, are you new James now?
Yeah, I think so. Yes. Yeah.
Good, man. Good. All right. Awesome. Hey, now look, we've got a couple of questions coming through, and they're all about the same thing. They're all asking about, how do you find these deals? Are they off-market deals? Did you want to share a little bit about that side of things? I mean, you've probably got your own strategies and techniques that you use that are specific to what you do, but is there something you could share?
Yeah, so I suppose, do have specific things that are, to use that word, that we do but I think if you're going through the training and looking at how can you create an opportunity or find an opportunity that's perhaps off market or from a person who's likely to sell, I do those things. I just do it consistently. And I find that most people will send 100 letters or they'll talk to 10 agents, and then that's where it stops. Whereas, for 5 years, 6 years, I'm doing that. Not so much of the letters anymore, but people know that if they want to sell, to ring me because I have an interest or I can create a solution. And agents come to me now where contracts have fallen over, the tenants have then, contracts fallen over, the tenants have moved out, house is trashed, they can't sell it because they don't have the money to fix it. The person is in default of the contract, come in and solve it. So we've come in and, renovated houses in between. People have got their deposits back, they've resold it, things like that. So, nothing. No, I'm not creating. There's no secret pill that I'm taking that makes people ring me or creates opportunities. Other than, I guess, I am willing to go to places that people won't consistently. So.
Yeah, and it seems like you've got that. Once again, going back to Dymphna's things, you've got mates in the market. You've kind of reached out to them, and you've got a reputation now with a lot of people. So you're known.
Well, I actually think if I actually shared what am doing, it'd be a bit overwhelming. So we get a lot of people from the community sort of contact now and happy to help them doing what they're doing. But sometimes they're reaching out to do something together, and at times it can be a bit overwhelming. So I don't probably share as much as I should, every time I meet someone, they always say, "Oh, I love what you're doing. What are you up to now? You should share more of that," which if there is some feedback from today's chat, there's some more, things I'm happy to share a bit more. So.
Okay. We may take you up on that, James. Yeah. Awesome, man. Awesome. It's now look, the other thing I wanted to find with, obviously you get into solving a lot of difficult problems, but I want to know, is there a problem that you've run into that you've had difficulty, or how have you addressed a difficult problem? Like, what's your method, or what's come up for you that you found, how do I overcome this?
Yeah. So I guess COVID has been a bit of an issue, and that was purely accessing properties that we wanted to purchase, but couldn't commit to until we like to, I guess, eyeball it, make sure we've been through it, we've seen it, we have confidence in recommending it to anybody else or a money partner. That slowed it quite down. And even the videos, they do work to a certain extent, but we walk the streets, we talk to the agents, I've got every house I've ever purchased or been involved in, I've got the neighbours' number still, so I know what's going on in the community. Other problems were finding enough money. So that was a problem for us for a while, of going, okay, now we need someone, who's willing to back us and has the ability to fund it, and also at a interest rate or a return for them that still made it worthwhile for us doing it. And I guess, probably the biggest problem I need to overcome was confidence in myself to have the ability to back my own decisions, my own ability to make things happen, and I guess I've continued to improve that and try and improve that each day. So
yeah. Could you like elaborate a little bit more on that, because I think that every one of us runs into an issue with confidence, and you've gone through a bit of a situation where you've lost a lot. You're in debt. You're in debt to people that obviously friends and so forth that business associates. How do you how did you deal with that? Just like from a personal level, if you're happy to share.
Yeah. So I would say initially I didn't.
Okay.
I really didn't. Yeah. I completely shut down, and I basically stopped doing things and stopped hoping. And that was, I suppose, what the key. I didn't see a way forward, and I guess that was one of the key things in when I went to the one day I was recreating that hope. But what I worked through was now I ask myself different questions. And it was, before I said, why would anyone want to work with me? Because I'm a failure. And I'd answer that as I'm a failure. And now I ask the questions of, okay, this is what I want to do. How can, this is, what components do I have that we've got undercover or covered? What do we then need in order to move that forward? And I go, now who has that ability and who has that desire, and how do we connect? And it really is, what can we do now to solve this problem? Now what can we do? So
yeah, awesome, and that clearly that's worked for you, because you're finding people that have the confidence in you, and you're delivering on their on their trust as well. Yeah.
How can I is the question we ask now. Then why would they?
yeah. Why would they when I'm this? Where it's like, no, how can you solve it? How can you? Yeah. Looking at the solutions. Yeah. Do you want to mention a little bit about? Obviously, you've done a lot of joint ventures, seller JVs, and so forth. How do you approach it when you come to ensuring that you've got the right joint venture partner? And obviously, there's a bit of due diligence involved. Do you have a process, or did you want to share a little bit about how you're happy with a joint venture partner, and in order to go ahead and do a deal?
Yeah. So I guess if we start right from the start, where we're having conversations, someone says, I have a house, I think there's an opportunity there, or I need to move on. Then I guess it really is identifying, can I work with this person? It's probably the most important thing. Is the property suitable for what we're trying to achieve? And there's different strategies depending on the property that we can work with. Are they open enough about the situation that they're in? And then it is really fact finding on verifying that information. So how much is this thing worth? How much do they owe? What are payments if we've got to do something together? What is the property worth now? What will the cost of the renovation be? What will it sell for? Does it make business sense in order to pursue further conversation, or getting quotes and things like that? So, and that's really is very diligent in coming to those numbers. And it's often several agents going through. Sometimes we're getting quotes as well. And often we'll have maybe we'll have a heads of agreement saying, this is our intention, is to achieve this once we verify these facts. And so once we have that, then it's I guess the formal process is we have a joint venture agreement. Often I have an authority or a power of attorney in which I can contact the bank, rates, water. We do title searches, which is a key thing that most people leave out. So yeah, probably I'll come back to a little bit later on some of the key things to remember for that diligence process. So then I become, I guess, in the owner's position where now I have the ability to make or suppose get information. They still have the ability to make decisions as well, and then we move forward with that. And then when we have that in place, then we have a loan agreement. That loan agreement becomes a secured lend against the property. The money lender, they see all the numbers, all the due diligence we have. They know exactly what the property is worth. They know what agent will be used to sell it. They know what the trade expenses will be. They know timeframes with our Gantt charts and things like that. So, and then to keep everyone on board, I normally have a WhatsApp group, and on a weekly basis, I'll do a little video or the the person on site will do it, will send photos through, so they track that progress through it, so they know their money's getting used for the purpose of the renovation. This is where it's going and how it's progressing.
It looks you've got a very smooth kind of system in place, haven't you?
It's working well. We're always improving it.
Yep.
It's very extremely diligent to get into it. Yes.
Yeah. Got it. No, I see that. Because I mean, you know the value of kind of like the responsibility of someone's money as well.
Absolutely, yes.
Probably more so. Yeah. Awesome. And what about when you approach, like if you're looking at someone to become a money partner, do you have a different approach for that, for joint ventures as well?
Yeah, I guess I like to find out what sort of property background they have before. So have they bought a property? Have they sold a property? Have they lent any money? Have they made some money? Have they lost some money? Do they have some education around property and I guess the inherent risks, and I suppose the advantage of property as a vehicle as well. So a lot of time I'm actually educating people on, I guess security, or like, caveat mortgage, so what we often do is we'll have, I guess, several payments or tranches, or it might be $100,000 loan, but it might be 25,000 initially. That way we can keep increasing the property value, so that way it's not upside down or negative equity. So increase it, improve the property. It's more money to increase it. So their money, if we would sell at any stage, then their money's safe. They'd get that first. There's no risk of that, or very limited risk of them losing money. So rather than putting a whole $100,000 that sits in a bank account that they don't have control over, because I've seen it before where it's not there anymore. So
great risk mitigation. Yeah, for confidence. Yeah. Awesome. So now I just wanted to find out, you've shared a lot, you've covered a lot of ground, and really been really open. So thank you so much for that. I wanted to find out what your life is like now to when you first joined. I mean, how is it different?
Yeah, so I guess initially, because the money I do make is going towards repaying debt. So it's not about, I guess, creating a future for me, but what it was is I had to do all the work because I needed to maximize what I could pull out of each deal. And so recent times where now we have too many projects on, physically it's impossible for me to be active, little bits of activity there, but to me to actually do the renovation from start to finish, it can't physically happen. So the big relief getting off the tools, so to speak. Mm-hmm. But it's exciting doing the project managing, and since then I've actually did my certificate 4 in diploma in building constructions to become eventually become a licensed builder. So yeah, that's a big change, and I guess I had did some real estate education. I did some mortgage broking and finance education previously, so that way I guess to try and become not the complete package, but I guess educated and experienced in all the things. We go, okay, I know property, I know money, I know how to the renovations or the building side of it. And so I guess, yeah, the exciting thing moving forward is now we have the ability to create the deals, because I don't think they're really found. I think they're not sitting, not sitting on realestate.com generally. So we're, I guess, creating, once we see those opportunities, we, modify it and to create it to a winning solution. And yeah, so I guess I'm excited about the confidence I used to have to, I guess, where it is now, the ability to make decisions and then have other people be confident in those decisions and want to be a part of it. So big change.
Yeah, totally. Now you do something else outside of real estate, which I think would be, if you're happy to share, would be good. Yep. Is because you're right into running, aren't you? Yes. You're a bit of is it a marathon runner or just a long distance runner? You're like, right into that. Is this something that happened that you started, and is this something that helps you in your confidence? Did you want to share, like?
So yeah, so I'm now doing ultra running, which is just running longer than a marathon distance. But I initially took it up because at the time that I was losing the business, I was overweight, stressed out of my head, had no way of escaping the inner James that was dying inside. And the release randomly became running. So, and it just became, a couple of times a week until, now it's quite active with the running.
So that, interesting. So you started that when you joined ILRE Real Estate?
Yeah, yes, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's interesting that I'd never hadn't previously linked the two together, but it was, I guess it was a transformation required internally and externally and mentally, and they kind of, coincided together.
So have you ever tracked, this is a weird question, have you ever tracked the kilometers to your deals? How many kilometers you get per deal?
No, I haven't actually. That'd be interesting stat. But I am thinking of, because I was originally from Adelaide, I'm actually thinking of doing a bit of a run and taking a photo in front of each house and seeing how many I can get to in one run.
Okay, yeah, awesome. Because I know that, I mean, I've done a bit of running, and you're kind of inspiring me to get out and get back into the running as well. It's such a great feeling. It really boosts you kind of like your energy and so forth as well. So great way to stay focused and to lift yourself up as well.
Absolutely, yes. And I think I like it because it's trackable, where you can, I suppose, measurable on your distance and time and things like that. And a lot of times when I suppose if you're doing property, you're not really measuring it until you've purchased a property or it's been sold. But I think it's the consistent actions that, the education, if it's, simply, 20 minutes a day, I'm going to listen to something, I'm going to look at a certain number of properties. And I think having the consistent running has really, worked well with consistent activities in property, especially.
Yeah, I want to mention something here, because I think it's a successful thing that you can accomplish in a day that boosts you onto doing other successful actions.
Yes.
And also the other thing about it I see is that it's a way that you can gain control over your body, because your body doesn't want to run. You have to go past the difficulty and obstacle of doing that, which means that if you're coming up against something difficult, you already have the confidence to overcome it, because you've overcome that first challenge of just pushing that body to run.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Is that something? I've done 25 years of martial arts, and so I understand that whole concept of, having a body that doesn't want to move the way it is, but you've got to push past that obstacle and push it onto the other side. It boosts you and it gains a confidence if you've controlled something that's just your own space, and then you can go on to control things in a larger sphere.
Absolutely. And that is pretty much the sole reason why I did my first marathon, is because I said, I actually physically don't know if I can do it. Mentally, I don't know if I can do it, but I want to see what happens when I come to the spot and I can't, what I actually go on and do then. And I suppose that's the drive for the longer distance running, and that helps overcome. And I just recently we're looking at a rural town, and mate dropped me off at the town beforehand and said, "All right, see you later." So ran 24 k's through the desert, basically in the dark to start with, and I didn't really take much water. So got to that, and I was just thinking about the ups and downs of that, and then later in the day, I actually said, what was good is I pushed through that, and I've made some difficult phone calls today because of the success that I've had there, in order to, to solve problems and create opportunities. Because, in life, it's not, not everything's that simple. And, when you're dealing with people and money and property and things like that. So it's as you said, a great way to get a small win which you can use moving forward.
I love that. I love that. You're speaking my language. I just love that. And I know that, and we're getting some other kind of comments here as well, coming back on Facebook about let me just have a look here. Teresio saying, I have a rental in Cooper Pedy. I'm keen to sell unless there is a better option. Clearly, Teresa, I think is wanting to reach out to you. Namas is saying, believe in yourself. And there was another question about personal development. If you wanted to share, you mentioned a little bit about personal development. Is there anything you want to share, and what you do or not, or your call?
Yeah. So one thing I didn't mention before, but I've probably spent probably over 100,000 on self-development in different courses and education, and with audiobooks as well. So I listen to a lot of, I suppose now it's distance running and people overcoming challenges, but it's also, the typical business and property, Kiyosaki, Trump, and, there's all those sorts of things, and lots of other property education. And I really, even running now, and food, and, diet and things like that. And I guess I actually do a lot of self-analysis, and I'm going, not always that politely to myself, but, James, you suck at this. You need to improve it. Who's better at it than you? Okay, go and find the information that they're presenting, and, immerse yourself in it to then improve it in those areas. So, but if anyone wanted to reach out, I'm happy to share some of the audio books and things that I've listened to, and books I'm reading and things like that. And yeah, absolutely. So just trying to be a better me than I was yesterday. Awesome.
James, thank you. Is there anything else you wanted to mention? Like, what would you tell? Like if you've got a new student, who's coming up and they're like, I've just joined, there's so much information. What do I, where do I start? What would you say to like brand new students who've just joined up or keen to start?
Yeah, I'd probably say, I guess, immerse yourself in the education. So find out, what do you actually need yourself, or with another partner or something like that, in order to move forward. And then where can you find those people, and then to consistently take actions, even if it's small actions, but do it consistently. And there's times when I haven't been that consistent with things, but it always happens with the consistent movement and the consistent reaching out to the community, and but just being aware of your situation, what's required, and then who can help you do that. And it might be the education, it might be someone else, it might be a better members in your team, finance, legal, things like that. But take consistent action is probably the biggest advice I can give.
And that's exactly what you've done.
Yeah.
If there's anyone else, I don't know anyone else who's like Mr. Consistency other than yourself. You do it with running, you're doing it with deals. You've just kind of got out there and done it again and again and again. So awesome. Is there anything else you wanted to mention? Because I think we're right on the hour. We've kind of wrapped up. Anything else you wanted to share to wrap up? Or
yeah, probably if I looked at where I was and the skills I had beforehand, and the emotional confidence and things like that before any property transaction I did. I guess I know my vocabulary, and I probably talk with a bit more confidence on it now. But literally at the start, like, my wife would be the first person to say that you were terrible. I knew nothing. I lacked confidence. I couldn't talk on the phone. If the phone rang, I would just let it. The home phone rang back then. I wouldn't answer it. Had no confidence in myself at all. So I think, like I've said before, I think if I can do it, then someone else can do it. And it might be just simply going, okay, this is a small component. Can I look on realestate.com for property? Yes. Can I work out what a crappy looking house is yes. Can I narrow it down and go and visit some? Yes. Can I go and talk to some agents each week to find out more about the market? Yes. Can I talk to a mortgage broker, what I need to do? Yes. Can I talk to someone else who has some money because I don't have it? Yes. They're all little things that you can, individually break down and go, actually, as a person, I can do that. As a whole, it's overwhelming, but if you break it all down and go, okay, so it's then fairly simple and going, this is what I need to do to move forward. And then, the next part is with the community of going, they all have those resources that I don't have. How can we move forward together or find that information?
Yes. James, thank you. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you taking the time out to share. And it's actually really inspiring to see you share regularly and what you've done as well. I will be following up, and because I know that I get the sense that you've got a lot more that and that you're willing to share and help more. That's the kind of like the vibe I'm getting. So yeah, we'll have a look and see what else may come about.
Absolutely, yeah.
For you, but thank you so much. There's a lot of thank yous coming through on Facebook as well. A lot of people are really appreciating it. It's clear that there's this Namas saying thank you, and Noshi says James is a generous soul. Namas says believe in yourself. There's lots of little love hearts kind of flowing through as well. Yeah, very much appreciated. And you can see in the comments in Zoom as well. So much appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you.
Excellent. So we'll end off this interview today. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for this session with James. If you don't kind of already realise that you're in an incredibly beautifully supportive community, that something must be wrong. People such as James and the other stories that we've had really kind of, it just shines a light on what an awesome community we have that Dymphna has started, and it's got a life of its own. So thank you so much for joining us, and have a fantastic weekend, rest of the Friday, and we'll be back next week. We do have, as you know, the Momentum Mastermind, which is coming up at the end of February. Dymphna will be delivering a one-day event then, and we also have the Ultimate Real Estate Success Bootcamp, 3-day bootcamp coming up. That's going to be in March. I think it's the 19th to the 21st of March. So these are the things that are coming up, along with your regular weekly Wednesday webinars coming up. And I think the next one is going to be with Greg, who's a platinum coach. So that's all what's coming up. Thanks everyone for joining us. James, really very much appreciated. I know that we'll probably be hearing more of you, and you'll be posting more within the community as well. So fantastic. All right. We'll end off there, yeah?
Yes, thank you very much. And a lot of the community inspire me with what they're doing, and it's the small things. So some people might be overwhelmed, go, oh, look how many deals he's done. But I get excited when I just see someone's putting an offer in, or someone's doing something. So that's inspiring. So share it, keep sharing what you're doing. So.
Yeah, and the thing is, this is such an important point. You don't know until you ask or someone shares. Yeah. And that's what I love about, and I really appreciate you kind of sharing a bit more here with today, because sometimes you see something, but no, there's a whole lot more going on. There's a whole lot more that's going on. So yeah, awesome. Okay, we're gonna go. It's end of lunchtime, end of interview. We'll catch up with you next time. Hey, thanks again, James, and we'll see everyone later. Hey,
bye.